Good morning to the webinar audience, and thank you very much for your interest in the Yukon. Today we'll go through and just discuss various things about the Yukon, show you some images and some ideas, etc., and things to see and do. Just a couple of things to highlight for you. First of all, is Yukon is not just a one-season destination. I guess the famous thing about the Yukon is the Aurora. However, there are many other aspects, and that's why we like to highlight where we have 4 seasons and 4 reasons to travel to the Yukon. But first of all, we'll go through a few areas that be of a little fact-finding for you. Where is the Yukon? Getting there. Why would you travel to the Yukon? Highlight some information about the Aurora experiences and other winter activities, and introduce other seasons such as the midnight sun and summer, and of course the beautiful fall and spring, which is what people are experiencing right now, and then the various regions and routes around the Yukon. So first of all, let's highlight where is the Yukon. It's tucked right up in the top left-hand corner there, just inside Alaska and above BC, and the Northwest Territories is over further right and north. So that's where the Yukon is. It's high up into towards the Arctic, and it's a wonderful destination to experience a lot of activities. Getting there, while we're quite a long way from the Yukon, it is convenient air access from Vancouver, Air North and Air Canada operating daily services, and it is a very easy flight to take out of Vancouver. WestJet operate on seasonal 3 times a week, May through October, as you can see it on the screen. And also other gateway cities, Calgary, Edmonton, Kelowna, etc., also Ottawa via Yellowknife, and also road access, a lot of traffic from the USA through Canada up into the Yukon is very prominent. And of course, the cruise into ships into Skagway in Alaska, which is only 2 hours from Whitehorse, which we'll speak about a little later. So there is good access. It's convenient. It's not hard to do, and it's a wonderful destination when people get there. So let's highlight this morning what the Yukon is all about. I mentioned, I guess, one of the bucket list areas of the Yukon is the Northern Lights and the Aurora, linked in with the winter activities. However, another major part is the midnight sun in the northern summers, and then on either side of that are the shoulder season, such as right now is the spring. As you can see, the beautiful florals and the animals are out and about, etc. So it is a wonderful destination for spring, and also in fall or autumn, as we call it. But again, it's not just a one season destination. Wonderful for soft adventure, depending on the type of activity people wish to do. Amazing scenery and enormous wildlife. It has Canada's highest mountains. Great historic sites. Of course, it's the home of the Klondike Gold Rush up in Dawson, where they went from down south from Skagway up through Whitehorse. Amazing journey to the Gold Rush. And then it's a First Nations mecca as well. So there's a lot to see and do and experience while taking a scenic drive or over a few days of itinerary to discover the Yukon. Just a little bit of geography about the Yukon again. It's just inside the right-hand side there of Alaska, above BC, as I mentioned a while ago, and then inside the Northwest Territories. Fly into Whitehorse, as we highlighted earlier on, and there's some great opportunities to go further north up into Dawson City, where we mentioned the gold rush earlier on. So a lot of experiences to be gained. Whitehorse is the capital city. It's a population of 28,000. It's quite a large spread out city. It's a lovely destination within itself. It's very cultural. Has a variety of hotels and lodges scattered both inside the city and then out in the outer skirts as well. And it's a great day touring or 2-day touring or even longer from Whitehorse, using it as a base. As I mentioned earlier on, there's daily air access, and also it's the hub for the Yukon highways in and out on the way to Dawson, south, east and west as well. Excuse me. It's a wonderful cultural town because of its location. The community really combined together, and the dining is something that when I first went there, I didn't think there was very much in way of dining, but after going back a few times, virtually any type of cuisine anywhere in the world you can experience in the Yukon, at Whitehorse in particular, and there's some great chefs turning out some really beautiful produce into delightful dinners, etc., in a variety of restaurants and lodges around. There's a lot of music festivals and art galleries, some great museums, a lot of festivals because of the community is very, very active, and it has that small town charm still. We highlighted a little about the Aurora earlier on. The best months for viewing the Northern Lights is late August to mid-April, so you're looking through our summer here in Australia or the winter of the Yukon. We do recommend 3 or 4 nights to stay there. Most of the tours depart from Whitehorse. It's about usually 40 minutes out of town to get away from the local lights, so there's more visibility for the Aurora. It can be done in groups. Some tour operators do the groups out of Whitehorse. Your own favourite wholesaler will have access to all of that. Tours usually take 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. approximately, depending on the strength of the lights of the night, etc. All of the areas have tea, coffee, and all the needs for people staying out at night time, waiting for the lights or enjoying the lights while they're out. Hotel transfers, as I mentioned a while ago. At the viewing area locations, we've got heated yurts. Yurts, for those who don't know, is like a tent or a teepee. Assistance with photography, and there's a variety of snacks, etc., on site for those to enjoy. There are also viewing at lodges. Many of the lodges have platforms adjacent to their lodges, or some of them have balconies where viewing can be done. They are the lodges that are out of Whitehorse, out of town, if you like. Accommodation, a variety of accommodations in Whitehorse. It's not a 5-star accommodation destination. It's a 5-star experience destination. So the hotels are 3 stars. They are wilderness lodges. Most of the lodges in the wilderness format are outside of Whitehorse, maybe 20 minutes to a half hour out of town. There's some great B&Bs available as well, hostels and camping. So it caters for all types of traveller for the accommodations. Lodge stays, as I mentioned a while ago, they have some of them have some really good chefs cooking out some great meals and lovely fresh produce. So that's a great experience in itself, as well as experiencing all the lifestyles of being out into the wilderness, and whether it be winter for the Northern Lights experience, summer or autumn, fall as it's called in the Yukon, or spring. It's a great experience. A lot of things to do and enjoy. So let's look at Whitehorse again. We have a variety of packages. The Klondike National Historic Site, which is the Dread Ship there. McBride Museum traces the history of the Yukon back from the early days of the First Nations right through to modern time. There's hot springs there for people to enjoy. a very, very large wild life preserve, like a huge open acre zoo, but lots of room for animals to roam around. There's 2 Yukon breweries now, a lot of shopping, and an enormous amount of outdoor activity to experience. Takahini Hot Springs is a great experience. It can be utilized during the daytime for those people who wish to go to do the Aurora viewing or just enjoy the summer activities as well. It's heated water, as you can imagine, in that part of the world, particularly in the winter months. As you can see on the left-hand side there, you're packed with snow and ice around it, but a wonderful experience. And combine that with the wildlife preserve, which is a huge sanctuary of every species of of wildlife that's available in the Yukon. Is there? It's very much like a veterinary type zoo in a way, because they're caring for the animals who may have been injured or whatever, and they're brought in there to look after them, and they still have the in the wild experience and the feeling for the animals, which is quite wonderful. So those two things can be joined together to have a great experience during the day, and combine that with dog sledding. And this is an ideal way to package a day in and around the Aurora viewing out of Whitehorse. Sledding can be done either individually or in tandems or in slightly larger teams, depending on the desire of the tourist. Snowmobiling and snowshoeing are also great experiences. So these all can be combined with Aurora viewing. And in the winter time, it gets 0 to minus 35 degrees, which is like our minus 30 degrees temperature. So it can be very cold, but it's a dry cold. It's not something that's really too demanding of the body, but people just dress in layers. So wherever the activity may be, all of the suppliers there have the appropriate layers of clothes, which is in part of the package. So you don't have to worry about taking too much gear. So people just layer up. They have maybe 2 or 3 layers of clothing on, and then they can change that accordingly to what they want. So it's not humid. It is a dry climate. Snow is from November through April normally, even in today's climate change. The clearest and coldest for viewing is January, February months, and the December sunlight is 10 a.m. till 4 p.m., so it's not a big window. March sunlight 6 a.m. to 9 p.m., so you can see how it extends out there in that period. But the extreme opposite of that is the midnight sun. So it's a fascinating destination, and I highly recommend that you speak to your clients about traveling to the Yukon, not just for the Aurora viewing, but for the wonderful experiences in the opposite time of the year, which is April to August, and then on the slight shoulders on either side of that in spring or in fall, autumn, which is a wonderful experience. So April to August, up to 24 hours of daylight at solstice in June, and the summer temperatures go up to 35 degrees. So it's a wonderful, wonderful climate for people to travel to. Lots of experiences. Whatever the type of adventure, whether it's soft adventure, it's also the perception of the person. But we're now seeing a lot of older people experiencing great outdoor activities such as hiking, canoeing, rafting, cycling, mountain biking. As you can see, the whole list goes on and on and on. So there's enormous amount to do, and particularly important to think about the Yukon in the summer and shoulder months is that in BC and also in Alberta, accommodations can be very, very hard to get in the main summer season. There's opportunities in the Yukon to travel there and stay in a lovely small lodge and experience all of these things that we're seeing up on the screen as we speak, and we highlight it. It's a great destination for other times of the year. The Yukon River is the 3rd longest in North America, for example. Canoe rentals available, guided or unguided trips, so a great variety of experiential activities available. Flight seeing, enormous country to just take over a helicopter or a fixed wing plane. to enjoy. The wildlife we highlighted earlier on from the preserve, but particularly in the shoulder seasons and also summer, great opportunities to see the wonderful array of wildlife from caribou, moose, as we see on the screen here, mountain sheep, black bears, grizzly bears, and wonderful species of birds. Yes, you do see bears from the side of the road. You'll see them grazing up in the hillsides quite often, particularly in spring and in summer, and also in fall, but more so in the spring and summer. And you'll they'll be there as a family, just munching away on the grass and storing their food for the winter months. And it's a great experience. You can just stay in your car and have a look. They're usually quite away, and they're not likely to come near you at all, so that's all a great experience. So wildlife is a very, very big highlight for the Yukon. There's a brown bear, as you can see. You do see them frequently. A great variety of wildlife. So beyond Whitehorse, you can see Kluane National Park. There's just adjacent to Whitehorse, and then up to Dawson City further on north. But just look. Let's talk about some day trips or longer trips up to 5 and 6 days on the South Klondike Highway out of Whitehorse. As you can see, some amazing scenery, great experiences to enjoy. There's a First Nations original or authentic township recreated there. It's a wonderful place. The historic White Pass and Yukon Rail journey goes through there as well. There's lots of arts and crafts demonstrations right by a beautiful lake. It's 40 minutes south of Whitehorse, a must-do experience, and a lot to see and do on the way there. There are also a lot of lodges scattered around this area, so where people can stay close by. The White Pass and Yukon Railway, built in 1900, to capitalise for the following of the Klondike Gold Rush. There are multiple options of various tracks and routes available, and we quite often a very, very popular thing to do is to go over the mountain pass down to Skagway in Alaska, USA, get their passport stamped, and then they can come back same way or come back by coach or whatever it may be. A great day trip and a great experience from amazing territories, and it makes you wonder how these people in the gold rush time were able to go through there on horseback, etc. Some mountain biking and other touring to do. Again, some great sites, as you can see there. Kluane National Park, it's a UNESCO site. It's 2 hours out of Whitehorse. It's an amazing interpretive First Nation centre there. Great learning experience. A lot of hiking trails, wildlife viewing and rafting, as it says there, on Kluane National Park. But I guess St. Elias Mountain, it's part of the world's largest ice field, as you can see there, and Canada's highest peaks. Mount Logan at Kluane is the tallest mountain in Canada. So there's an enormous amount to offer, and you can see an aircraft going through this vast area of the Elias Mountains there. You can see some of the rivers and what have you frozen over there on under the fixed-wing aircraft flying over. Amazing scenic drives, and the fall colours of September are truly amazing, and that's just a slight example. So don't be afraid to suggest to your clients to travel to the Yukon away from the Aurora period of the winter. It's a great experience to travel in summer, fall, or in spring. Just some amazing shots here that people can enjoy. So here's an example of a fly drive type package or experience, utilising the driving from Whitehorse up to Haines Junction is where Kluane National Park is, coming down into Alaska, through to Skagway where the cruise ships are, back through Carcross that I mentioned, the First Nations village, and there's several experiences like that, and these are all found on the Yukon website, which will give you a great opportunity to look at. Some of the wholesalers are also packaging a range of drive programs. The other most highlight, I guess, is Dawson City, is the home of the gold rush, and Dawson City from Whitehorse, say 4 or 5 hours. Need to allow more because there's so much to see and do. Can go up through the centre or over through Kluane up to Dawson City. And then for those who are interested, and a wonderful, wonderful experience is to travel up through the Tombstone Territorial Park north of Dawson. Dawson City, as I mentioned a while ago, the discovery of gold there in 1896 started the gold rush. And as it says there, considered the greatest gold rush in the history. It was over 100,000 people headed to the Yukon. And if I recall back a few slides ago, I mentioned the White Pass Rail. Well, that is the area that these people trekked through, I should say, on horseback and walking, etc. And it's amazing, of 100,000 people, most of them went that way, and there was very, very little disturbance amongst one another. They all had a goal to get to the gold, if you like, and that was the reason why they all got on so well together under amazingly poor conditions, etc. So visitors can really feel like they're stepping back into that 100 years of history, because it's an amazing destination. You can just see that's one of the sidewalks in one of the streets in Dawson City. Dawson City is a permafrost area, so there's no solid bitumen roadways, and the boardwalks are built up with timber boardwalks. Reminds you very much of what you would experience in a Western movie, the type of landscape, etc. There, a wonderful, wonderful experience to just discover the gold and how it was all done. It mentions there a 6-hour drive from Whitehorse, or 1-hour flight on Air North, and the population today of 2,000, not 100,000 that it was back in the day. The 6-hour drive is a leisurely drive. It can be done shorter, but it is recommended to do that as 6 hours, because there is so much to see and experience, stop and get out and just enjoy on the way. So it's a gold mining and historic tours available, a lot of walking tours. It has Canada's oldest casino, and also dining and shopping, as I mentioned about Whitehorse. Both of these destinations have all of that. Historic tour of the active gold mining, and you can pan for gold as well. This is the largest wooden hole dredge in the world that's still operating, mainly for historic viewing, etc. these days, but it still does churn out, and it's amazing what these guys had to go through to find their gold back in the 1890s. Robert Stevenson, the poet, Robert Service, I was getting mixed up, was famous for his poetry around the area, and also some tales of the gold rush, etc., sort of reenacted by today's poets and actors, and it's a great experience on some of the walking and guided tours around through there. A visit to the oldest casino, the Can dances, that's through May to September, and there's also live gambling on there as well for those who wish to enjoy, but it just gives you another great experience of the Yukon. Not only in Dawson, but in many areas around Yukon, there are some wonderful First Nations cultural centres. Great learning experiences. They're interactive. They're so much to see and do and enjoy, and it's a great way to get the feel of the destination by maybe it's in museum in Whitehorse. It could be in Dawson City, or it could be in any of the areas along the way through on the various roadways. There are some really nice First Nation cultural centres that really highlight the life and things like bear trapping and fishing and so on, and just get a feel of how people lived back in the day to not only survive but also to trade, etc. The Midnight Dome is a major viewpoint over the Klondike River at Dawson City, and it's called the Midnight Dome mainly because of the midnight sun, because you can view up there at midnight and see all the regions around. But not only that, it's also now for the Aurora. They're doing Aurora viewing at Dawson City, and it's also higher up in towards the Arctic from Whitehall, so sometimes it's a clearer view. The other amazing area, and just north of Dawson, is the Tombstone Territorial Park, and this is absolutely amazing in the summer, spring, and in fall. It's just 1.5 hours north of Dawson City, and it's on the Dempster Highway, and just some amazing colours, particularly in those 3 seasons that I just mentioned. Fall in late August is absolutely amazing. Again, the wildlife are out and about in both, in all those 3 seasons of spring, summer, and fall. So there's a lot to see and experience and do. Some great walking trails, hiking, just leisurely activity along the way. Dempster Highway into the Arctic can be done. Dawson City up into Inuit in the Northwest Territories. It crosses the Arctic Circle. So this destination has an amazing array of opportunities and things to do and experience. So just show you a few images now. We're running out of time. I'm getting a bit close to going over. Some amazing drives that I mentioned a while ago, utilising B&Bs and campgrounds, etc. Just a summary: August through April is the Aurora viewing. Winter snow activities, December through April. Midnight sun, a must-do in my opinion. June through September, a great use of all the outdoor activities and facilities there. First Nations history is amazing. The Whitehorse is a wilderness city. Amazing things and to experience to do in and around with 2 or 3 hours drive. And it's all covered through the Yukon, as we say, 4 seasons, but there are 4 reasons to travel to the Yukon, larger than life. Thank you very much.
Ray, thank you so much. Fantastic update from the beautiful Yukon. So everybody, the floor is open for questions. If you do have any questions for Ray, please type them into the chat box, and I will read those out for Ray. Ray's going through some slides again. It's such a beautiful place. That's the thing. It's the images really do sell it to us, and it's interesting because I find when we talk a lot about Canada, you're talking to people about needing to go more than once. Like you say, you want to go for Aurora season, but you also want to see the summer. So it's essentially you're always planning 2 trips in your mind and recommending going at those different times of year. But Ray, just looking at the Aurora viewing season, so it is late August, September. So somebody did want to go once and try and do as much as possible, and they're going in that September time. What's the Aurora season like then? Is it still quite reliable, or is it less reliable?
Aurora, it's always there. It's just the conditions of the evening when you're viewing it. So you're more likely to get, the closer you get to the winter months, the more visible it's likely to be. However, as we all know, with weather conditions and climates and what have you of today, there's no golden rule, really. However, the best time is probably in October, from October through to February, March. You could extend it out that long. So that's to get to view it more clearly. You get a better, the naked eye is not as good as the lens of a camera, so very good camera equipment is very good for capturing the sights of the Aurora, and to be able to bring that back as something to really experience and show people.
Thank you. That's sort of touched on Nadia's question, which is, can you cross over August, September, and midnight sun and Aurora? So yes, I guess that's it. You're going to have the longer days of sunlight during that time, but
exactly.
but it's the best time to see the Aurora is maybe in a bit later.
there's no guarantees you'll see it at that time of the year. It's I guess that's why seasons are seasons around the world.
That's it. Wildlife and Aurora, not hopeful, but never guaranteed.
The animals have to sleep some stage. They tend to do it in the winter.
That's it. Alrighty, no other questions coming through. Neville says thank you, Ray and Charlie. So we'll sign off there. Oh no, Nadia says, what's the infrastructure like for RVs? Very
good. They've got wonderful campgrounds all over the Yukon, so it's ideal with. They even have wood placements and things like that for people to gather and to utilise. It is very, very good because it's a great RV destination. It's something that we really like to have more Australians experience, but sometimes in the northern hemisphere, people are a little bit concerned about a left-hand drive vehicle and driving the opposite side of the road. However, those who are keen to and experienced at doing this type of thing, it's an amazing destination to just get out and do that and be free.
Yeah, and I guess if you're going to do that for the first time, somewhere like the Yukon's great because it's not like you've got really busy highways and traffic to negotiate. This will be slightly easier touring, wouldn't you say, Ray?
Exactly. However, people who are considering that need to book this well in advance because the German market, or the Northern European market, I should say, not just the German market, but they really love this mode of travel for their holiday, so they get in early and they book the RV. So there's not enormous amount; they are increasing all of the time. However, booking early is essential.
And for those people who aren't self-driving, are there plenty of options? So you were talking about
Yes.
Dawson City from Whitehorse, the drives. There's lots of transfers available.
Yes, there are 3 or 4 tour operators based in Whitehorse and 1 or 2 in Dawson City. They all do tours ranging from half-day, day tours right through to 7, 8-day. And most of the tour wholesalers here have access to those tour operators and can package them. Even though they may not be in their brochure, they will probably be in their system, so they do have those.
Fantastic, thank you. Neville says, is the railway all year round?
No, it doesn't operate in the winter months. So it's seasonal, but it's only out for, I think it finishes at the end of September and starts off again in April, just approximately.
Thank you. Okay, I think that's everything. So we'll sign off there. You will have Ray's contact details if you need anything else, and of course the website is a great place to seek out some more resources and those itineraries. But thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thank you, Ray, for a wonderful update. And everybody, have a great day.
Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate your time.